Hi, family, and welcome to our online lessons. Today's lesson is about Joseph. Joseph was a mighty man of God who always kept his mind and his focus on the Lord. Yet his life, when you look at it, seemed chaotic and out of control. But yet in the end, God put it all together to make a glorious testimony of what God can do in a person's life. So watch the video and then I'll be back.
Jacob had a big family, 12 sons in all. Joseph was the next to last son of the family, and his father loved him most. Jacob even gave his son Joseph a special colorful coat, showing that he was his favorite son. Of course, his brothers were jealous of him. Who wouldn't be? Joseph had some strange dreams. Once he dreamed that he was in the field with his brothers, binding up stacks of grain in the field. Everyone else's stack of grain bowed to his. Another time, he dreamed that the sun, moon, and 11 stars were all bowing down to him. When he told his brothers and father these dreams, they weren't too happy. His father rebuked him, and his brothers just got angrier. But his father kept the dreams in mind. One day, Jacob sent his son Joseph to go find the brothers who were taking care of the flocks. He wanted to hear how his sons and flocks were doing. Joseph's brothers saw him from a long way off. "Here comes the dreamer," they said to each other. "Now is our chance to finish him off. Let's kill him." The oldest brother, Reuben, did not want to kill Joseph, so he suggested they throw him in a dry well and leave him there. Reuben had planned to later come and rescue Joseph. Before he could do that, some traders on their way to Egypt passed by, and his brothers decided to sell Joseph to them. And so Joseph was tied up behind a camel and forced to march all the way to hot, dry, dusty Egypt. Egypt was hundreds of miles away. They spoke a different language. They served strange idols. It was a strange new land, and Joseph would be separated from his family. Joseph was sold as a slave to a man named Potiphar. Potiphar's wife was determined to get her way, and one day she grabbed Joseph and tried to force him to sin. Still, Joseph resisted. He ran away from the scene, but Potiphar's wife had grabbed his coat. She was so angry that she lied about him to Potiphar. The accusation landed Joseph in jail. Not only had he been traded as a slave to Egypt, but now he had been thrown in jail for something he didn't even do. Even while he was in jail, Joseph stayed true to God. God had big plans for him. While he was in that Egyptian jail, he had a reputation for being wise and for telling the meaning of people's dreams. One day, Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, had bad dreams that perplexed him. He could not understand what they meant and was dead set on trying to figure it out. He asked his advisors, but they could not help. He asked his magicians, but even they could not explain the dreams. Then one of Pharaoh's servants remembered that Joseph was known for interpreting dreams. Joseph was brought from prison and taken to Pharaoh. Pharaoh told Joseph everything that happened in his strange and scary dream. Joseph knew exactly what the dream meant, and he carefully explained the meaning to Pharaoh. Not only did Joseph tell Pharaoh what the dream meant, but he also told him what to do about it. The land would experience famine in 7 years, and they needed to store up food to prepare. Pharaoh was impressed, and he honored Joseph. In fact, he made Joseph the second-in-command ruler over all of Egypt. Although he had been rejected by his family and left for dead, he had risen to power and greatness because God was with him. Later on, when Joseph was giving food to the people, his own brothers came to him for help. You can imagine how surprised they were to see their own little brother whom they had left for dead. He was now ruling one of the greatest countries in the world. Joseph brought his whole family to live in Egypt. Even though things looked bad for Joseph, God turned it into good.
Joseph was a dreamer. These dreams were God-given. These were prophetic dreams that showed Joseph his future. And these were dreams that Joseph could hang on to throughout his life. Through times when his brothers were being mean to him, when they were making fun of him, and eventually sold him into slavery, Joseph had these dreams to hang on to. When he was serving Potiphar in his house, Joseph still had these dreams, these God-given dreams. When Potiphar's wife falsely accused him and had him thrown into prison for seemingly the rest of his life, Joseph still hung on to his dreams and knew that God had a plan. And eventually, one day, he was called out of the prison and into the palace of Pharaoh to interpret a dream. And because he was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams through a God-given gift, he was promoted to vice president of Egypt. That's a powerful position. And because Joseph was in this position, he was able to help all these people. He was able to help the nation of Egypt and then even his own family. These dreams that God put into Joseph's heart were enabled him to love his brothers years after. He was able to save his brothers, give them food, give them shelter, even though they were so mean to him and sold him into slavery and caused him so much pain and suffering. That's what the grace of God can do in our lives. And what Joseph did was he kept his mind focused on God. He kept his eyes fixed on what God was doing in his life. And even though everything around him seemed chaotic, seemed like madness at times, Joseph still had his relationship with God to keep him solid and to carry him through. We're in a chaotic time right now. The coronavirus is running rampant through our country, and we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen. But even though through it all, we can have God. We have Jesus right here with us that will comfort us and that will come alongside us and that will bring us safety, security, and his presence to bring us peace that passes all understanding. All we have to do is keep our hearts and our minds focused on him. Joseph told his brothers, "You meant something for evil, but God turned it around for good." Even though things look kind of evil right now, even though things are uncertain, kind of chaotic, God's going to use all of this for his good. I want to challenge you today. I want to challenge you throughout the next week to watch for God in your life, to look for blessings, look and to see the goodness of God in your life. See what he was going to do. If we open up our eyes and we look around, then we can see everything that he's doing in our lives. Maybe we can see the goodness of God in our parents. Maybe we can see the goodness of God in our siblings sharing with us. Or maybe we can just feel his presence and his peace over us as we fall asleep at night. Whatever we do, I want to challenge you to look for God and look for his goodness. That way we can take an unfortunate situation and we can allow God to turn it around for good. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. And remember, we love you, we miss you, and we're praying for you.